everybody. Welcome to Writers with Purpose. I am Melvese from Written Words Publishing. At Written Words Publishing, we envision a world where every storyteller, regardless of their background, has the opportunity to share their voice, shape narratives, and impact the world through the written word. And today, our guest will be children's author Sam B. She's the author of Stella the Jelly. Stella the Jelly is a powerful yet whimsical story reminding us of the hidden signs of emotional abuse that can happen in romantic relationships and the importance of friendships and support to help get us through it. So let's welcome Sam to the stage with us today. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Yes, I love doing this podcast and having different authors from all different genres and everything. And you, if I'm not, oh, no, no, okay, no, you're not the first one, but you're the second children's book author that we've had on the show. So tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about Stella the Jelly.
Sure. So my background, I am an aura reader. So what that basically entails is I can read energy. And the idea for the book, Stella the Jelly, came into play is because we don't realize specifically how the people that we surround ourselves with can have such an impact on ourselves energetically. You kind of think about those people that when you get off the phone with, you kind of feel drained, or you go somewhere and you're in a large crowd of people and you just feel so tired and depleted. It's because it's affecting your energy. The same goes with our interpersonal relationships and who we tend to be around. And the idea to write this book came about because I found myself in a situation where my energy was just changing. I started to lose parts of myself, and it really started to impact me energetically and how I was going about life. And I always kind of had the idea to write a book about emotional abuse and what that can look like. But it wasn't until I got the idea to tie in the aura and how that impacts our energy specifically that it really started to come into play. And really, my big proponent for this book to write it was because a lot of people, I think we can talk about emotional abuse. A lot of people can, use the term being in narcissistic dynamics. And a lot of the times we tend to leave out the long term effects. And that's where I think there is a big red flag. There needs to be more conversations because it's staggering the long term effects that can happen to an individual the longer that they stay in these types of dynamics. So I really wanted to give a way to be able to identify what some of this can look like so that somebody can make the decision. Okay, I see what this is, and now it's my choice whether or not I want to leave or continue.
Okay, so you're talking from like the perspective of an adult. What made you decide to put this concept into a children's book?
Because I wanted from a young age people to be able to identify certain behaviors. And the thing when we talk about, emotional abuse, it can happen from such an early age, from just our friendships. That we can experience friendships where they're not necessarily healthy. And I think being able to spot those behaviors early on to help in the onset of friendships and also dating, because a lot of the times I look back and I think, had I known these signs, I think I would have done something differently. And a lot of the people that I've met through writing this book and networking with, they had told me, they read some of the scenarios in this book and they said, what, this happened. Like it resonated with them. And that's really why I wanted to bring it into a children's book so that people from a very early age can understand the signs to look out for prior to getting into dating and relationships and dating, I think it happens a lot earlier than we realize. I know, like, just thinking about when I was in elementary school, like having your crush or like having somebody that you go to the dance with. So it happens a lot earlier. So that's why I wanted to go this route with bringing it into a children's book.
That is true. What's the age group for Stella the Jelly?
So I started it off for ages 7 and up, just because it is an easy read. There's a lot of whimsical pictures in it, and it's very easy to understand and digest. So I started it for ages 7 and up.
All right, yeah, that 7 and up. I believe that probably is a good age. I have a grandson. He just turned 8,
Yeah,
and when I was out visiting for his birthday, his father told me. He asked him, Dad, how do I talk to a girl? How do I, So it's definitely prevalent around that age. So that probably is a good time
yeah,
to target and hone in on that. Let's talk about the positive energy thing. A lot of people don't realize how prevalent the energy and the just the aura around you, that the effect it has on your everyday life, on your mindset, on your well-being, on your stress level, on your whether you're happy or sad, or stressed and aggravated or not, one day. Let's talk about that, because a lot of people just don't realize that energy is definitely a thing, and you
yeah.
definitely want to surround yourself with positive energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we get so caught up in it that we don't realize how fast and how quickly it happens to us. So, let's walk through a scenario. Say we get up and we're in an environment where it's just us. We have this positive energy when we wake up. Then we sit in traffic on the way to work. Well, that can, cause some aggravation. Then we get to work and we're in a very high stress level environment that is going to impact our thinking. Say we have a boss who's very negative towards us, who, micromanages us, that's going to affect our energy and how we're going about our day. And then say, we leave and we pick up the phone and it's somebody that's close to us that just wants to unload everything that they went throughout their day. So by the time you get home, if you think about it, you had all of those scenarios, you're going to be tapped. That's going to greatly affect your decision making. That's going to greatly affect how you feel energetically. You basically have an empty cup and you can't, take care of the things that you want to because you just feel so energetically depleted by all the situations that occurred and surrounded you throughout the day.
That is so true. Well, what advice would you give? I guess starting out, since your book is focused at the younger ages, what does Stella tell or advise or do specifically so that the kids would know they need to surround themselves with positive energy, or how to avoid negative energy?
So I think the biggest takeaway from the book that I want kids to understand is that throughout the book, Stella keeps on finding herself in these situations that are depleting her, that are making her upset, that are changing her moods, that are really energetically draining her. And her best friend, Aurora, is the one who is talking to Stella, who is understanding what's happening and pointing out, you don't seem like yourself. Something's happening, something's changing. So I think really just having those people that are your friends or family members, people that you can go to that can be able to help you identify if something really is happening that you may not be able to necessarily see or pick up on for yourself.
That's a really good idea, though. So the story will help the children to learn how to open up and be honest about what they're feeling and what they're observing with someone else that they trust, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, unfortunately, due to COVID and being behind screens, a lot of the younger generation is growing up without that face-to-face interaction. It's a lot of screen time, texting instead of calling and, doing virtual instead of being in person, but really just having that interaction, even if it is through just virtual interaction, if it is through texting, like still keeping that line of communication open rather than shutting down and isolating and secluding, because that is where things can get a little bit dangerous as far as, you know, like I talked about with wanting to write this book, the long-term effects of emotional abuse can be very staggering. We're talking anything from PTSD to IBS issues to gastrointestinal issues, a lot of short-term memory loss. There's a multitude of things that can happen as a result of this. So, really keeping those lines of communication open as much as you can.
That's good advice. Yeah, parents need to make sure that they keep an open line of communication with your children. Listen to what they have to say. Don't always, criticize them or try to chastise them for what they're thinking,
Yeah,
because then they're going to shut down and they're not going to share their thoughts with you. And believe me, I can tell you, you might want a young one to stop making so much noise. But once they get up there, preteen, teen, you want to know what's running through their mind.
absolutely, absolutely. And like I think like a big takeaway too is just a reminder to meet them where they're at, because the way that a parent looks at the world as opposed to a child is going to be so vastly different. The things that are important to the child are going to be so off from the things that are important to the parent, and just reminding yourself to meet them where they're at, because you may view it one way, but your child may view it something so completely different. And being able to, understand, try to put yourself back in their shoes of when they were that age and what it was like for you to go through that, and, kind of just being what you would have wanted back then too.
That is a really good idea, a really good piece of advice for parents. Put yourself in their shoes way back then. Think about how you felt when you felt like you wanted to say something and felt like you couldn't, especially with my generation and the ones older than me that were
Yes.
taught to be quiet, don't say nothing, don't ask nothing, speak
Hmm.
when it's your turn to speak.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
we have somebody who's watching us who says that this is great because we tend to underestimate our children's thinking. Anyone can learn what they want, which includes children.
Absolutely. And the thing with it, I mean, I have two nephews, and the amount of knowledge that they are just rattling off all of the time, it just really blows my mind, because technology is just at their fingertips and they have just so much knowledge. They're able to absorb things so quickly. So, yes, I really definitely think that children are catching on way quicker. I feel that they are so much more observant than we realize. And that's also too something to keep in mind, that they are very quickly learning and they have so many resources. I thought that back in the day, like I was quick to learn, but now the amount of resources that are available for kids to utilize and gain knowledge from is just it's changing rapidly.
It sure is. That's right. So be careful what you say in
Yes,
their earshot, because even if you're not talking to them, if they can hear you, they are listening. They are
absolutely,
listening,
absolutely.
and they hear it, and chances are, depending on how old they are, they're going to repeat it. So be careful.
Yeah,
I want to talk about your awesome cover here. I love your cover.
thank
Who
you.
illustrated your book?
So I actually did all of the illustrations. I had a really good time putting the graphics together for this, and really, picking the color scheme to try and make it all flow together. I think the most fun that I had with doing this book and the illustrations were the facial expressions, like just putting all the facial expressions on Stella and Octo and all the characters throughout the book to really tie in the scenes of like what was happening, and really portraying that in the characters throughout the pages. But yes, it was myself and just having a lot of fun with the graphics and, putting it all together to make it cohesive.
That's really awesome. Are you an illustrator? Do you do illustrations for others, or is this just something you decided to do for yourself?
This is just something that I decided to do for myself. I've always loved art. I've always loved storytelling, putting things together. I never foreseen myself doing a children's book, but when the idea comes, it comes, and I decided to run with it. And it was, a great, I think, tool for me to really put my thoughts onto paper, try and figure out, what would be helpful for other people to hear, and also tell a story that is relatable, that's understandable, and that, walks away with also learning more about spirituality. I think that that is something that when you open your mind up to understanding how we're all connected, I think that you view the world very differently. So being able to tie that in was really important for me too.
Awesome, awesome. Well, do you plan on doing more children's books, or what are your plans as an author moving forward, or was this just like a one shot thing, or what are your plans as an author?
As of right now, I did think of more situations that I can use Stella for. I think that this will be the first of, a series. I can foresee talking about, Stella with different situations that I have personally gone through, that I have, had friends that have gone through. I have a background working in mental health, and I think being able to have some of the perspective that I do from working with so many different populations, I think we could really tie in a lot of stories together as far as how people can start to view things a bit differently, how to be kinder, how to understand that there are lessons in these situations, and how to move forward from them in a way that, is a bit different from the ways that I think a lot of people read about today. Throughout the book, I had talked about um, when Stella is confiding in Aurora. Aurora basically is just there for Stella, and she's not, bad mouthing Octo. She's not calling him names. She's not doing any of that because she's letting Stella know that there's something deeply unhealed with Octo that's causing him to exhibit this type of behavior. And I think having that knowledge and understanding rather than being combative, calling him names, like trying to break where the chaos can really start to ensue and have a different understanding of it all.
That's really good. It sounds to me too like your book is a good tool to help with conflict resolution, to help kids learn at an early age how to avoid conflict or resolve conflict, how to just not even start
Yep.
conflict, stay away from it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. So your book is available on Amazon. Is that the only place where people can purchase your book?
Yes, right now, currently just on Amazon. So we have the link in here that if you are interested in purchasing it, you can go right to the link and buy it. And, I really hope that, there's a lot of good that I feel like people can get from the story, not just from the knowledge of what these behaviors can look like, but also how it ties into us energetically, how it affects us. Some things to look out for as far as signs. I think it's one thing to read about what emotional abuse can look like. It's another thing to experience it and to have these scenarios that can play out to be relatable, to understand, like, oh, that's what that looks like. I think it's a lot more helpful for people to really be able to relate to it and identify rather than just, a textbook of what it's saying. So, yes, on Amazon, it's available. And I really hope that people enjoy it as much as I loved putting it together.
Yes, yes, the children and the parents reading it to the children or with the children, they'll both be able to get something out of it. And of course, we all know it's holiday time. What
Yes,
better gift to give a child than a book? A
absolutely.
book that's actually going to help them learn something that they can utilize later on in life.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Okay, well tell us about your website. People visit you on your website, Imaginative House. How do you pronounce that?
Just imaginative house, you got it right.
Okay, okay, cool. What
Yeah.
what, what will they find when they go to imaginativehouse.com?
So there's a lot of fun things that we do there. One of my biggest things is I do a podcast called Let's Talk Healing, and I talk through a lot of different scenarios that people have gone through, whether they're in the mental health profession, the spirituality space, entrepreneurs, things that they have overcome that they are really proud to share to help others along their journey. Because I think, I'm very self taught, in a lot of the times it's either a podcast that I hear something or a book that I read where something is really helpful that somebody else has gone through. So I wanted to do a podcast that really highlights and helps people understand those types of situations. So the podcast is there. I offer aura readings if anybody is interested in doing that. I also have some merchandise. You were talking about ways to protect yourself, and epsom salt baths are a great way to energetically protect yourself. So we have the imaginative house blend on there, which is a great Christmas gift, and smells amazing. I helped to formulate that and put the scent together for that, and was very much a part of that process. So yeah, there's a lot of fun things that are happening on there. So feel free to check it out if you feel called to.
Awesome. Yeah, you all go and check out Sam's website, and then you can follow her also on Instagram and TikTok. There are the tags running across the screen down there. And yeah, go and buy. Let's look at the cover just one more pretty time. Stella the Jelly. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I think that we will serve a purpose today, because a parent is going to see this and realize, you know what, I need to get this book and read it to my child.
Hey, you know what's interesting? When I got done with this book, I had met a lot of people that had gone through similar situations. And when I let them read it, there was a lot of similarities that they were like, oh my gosh, like I went through this, like this exact thing happened. So it resonated with a lot of adults. So, if you are an adult and you are possibly questioning, whether your situation is healthy, or, you're kind of just feeling like something may be off, I encourage you to honestly read this book too, because I think with the simple scenarios that it involves with the illustrations and the book, I think it can help identify some of the behaviors too. As if you are not a parent, if you are not a child that wants to read it, but like also as an adult that wants an easy way to be able to pinpoint certain behaviors, I think that that would be really helpful too for people to know.
Awesome, awesome. I just want to drop one publishing tip on you all real quick before we leave. I have 5 grandchildren, and I love purchasing children's books, right? And I want to purchase a copy of Stella the Jelly, but I'm not an Amazon person. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to go into it, but I refuse to spend money on that website. But I would like to buy your book. So what do you do in a
Yeah.
situation like this? If you're an author and you have a website and you have the ability to sell your book from your site, yes, you should have it available other places where other people like to go and buy their book, but do not leave yourself out of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Out of the pool.
Yeah.
Okay. Always make it available where people can purchase your book directly from you. Cut out the middleman. Why not?
Yes. I
Anyway, I just
appreciate that.
had to offer that tip, but I'll talk to you offline on how I can get a copy of Stella the Jelly without shopping on Amazon. And if
Yes.
anybody wants to know why I feel that way, just go to the Written Words Publishing YouTube channel and watch the videos breaking the chain, and you'll find out why. I refuse to purchase books from Amazon, but I love books and I will buy them directly from the author or anywhere else I can get them. I'm sorry. I'll just have to put that out there. Sometimes I just like to dish out a little bit of tips to help those authors out there. Okay.
It is a great tip. It is a great tip because there are a lot of people that do not, purchase through Amazon. And yes, it is very helpful feedback. So thank you.
Awesome, awesome. All right, well, thank you very, very much for coming on the show. Just hold on, let me check. We got another comment in here. Okay. Oh, yes. Here we go. There's nothing new under the sun. That's right. There's nothing that these children are going to experience now that their parents and their grandparents and their great grandparents and their great great grandparents didn't experience. They may have experienced it differently at a
Yes,
different time and a different place, but
yes,
that doesn't mean that the emotion that they received out of that, incident was not the same. So
absolutely.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being a guest on Writers with Purpose. Thank you, everybody who was watching. Thank you for your comments. And we will see you on the next show. Y'all have a great day. Bye bye.